All of Ontario's wine regions are located in close proximity to the Great Lakes. These huge bodies of water are critical to the production of vinifera grapes in Ontario. It's the lake's moderating influence that's so beneficial, taking the edge off summer's heat and winter's cold.
The lake effect is this wonderful giant hot water bottle that we get to nest our vineyards up against. In the winter, if you can imagine, the depth of Lake Ontario never freezes.
The dramatic and the extreme temperatures that you'll see north of the lake don't affect us here in the Niagara Peninsula, or at least below the Niagara Escarpment.
Spring would be a little bit cooler because the water is still cold, so the vines wouldn't bud as fast, so you wouldn't be so prone to spring frost. And then in the fall, the water is warm, so it just creates some nice warm air.
Nowhere is the lake effect more influential than on Pelee Island. Ontario's southernmost viticultural area, it has the longest growing season in Canada, usually 30 days longer than the mainland. The island has more than 200 hectares of vines, including Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. The island's rocky limestone base stresses the vines, naturally limiting production and concentrating flavors. 25 kilometers north of the island, we find the viticultural area known as Lake Erie North Shore. This region, stretching along the shoreline, has over 200 hectares of vineyards between Amherstburg and Blenheim. The southern exposure, combined with the lake's warming effect, allows this region to produce some of Canada's finest wine.
I think we're starting to establish ourselves as one of the premier, Canadian red wine sites. Red wines seem to be doing really well here. I like the quality and the ripeness that comes out of the Merlot and the Cab Franc and the Cab Sauv.
Chance of rain, showers.
In this area, in the Lake Erie North Shore, our reds will have a tendency to ripen themselves a lot further along than in other areas in Ontario, and therefore it'll make a wine with an awful lot of finesse.
In Canada, we still have the highest number of heat units. We can ripen things more reliably as a result of that. Seems very innocuous, and it's maybe 1 week in the heat of summer.
This is the Niagara Peninsula, Canada's most established wine region. And it's responsible for almost 80% of the country's grape production.
There's not much in them, and there's a lot of seed.
People arrive here by the busload for sightseeing, shopping, and fine dining. But there are more than 1 million visitors a year that come here to experience Niagara's laid-back wine culture.
The candles are lit and the wine is ready to pour.
I think we've captured immediately is that there is an experience around wine tasting and wine drinking, and it's a cultural thing, and it has a lot of romance, and Niagara's captured that.
For a fairly small wine region, there's a huge number of diversities in soils. Niagara on the lake, definitely more sandy clay soils. Up on the bench, there's a lot more limestone in the soil, great airflow, great drainage.
This is really a winemaker's dream, to be able to experiment with so many different climates and so many different soil structures. And many of our wineries are now designed specifically to capture these unique characteristics in their wines.
Niagara's vineyards are bordered by Lake Ontario to the north and the Niagara River to the east. You'll also find the 335-meter high Niagara Escarpment. Along the escarpment is an elevated ledge called the Bench, where vineyards benefit from continuous airflow from offshore breezes. Closer to the lake, the land levels out and vineyard temperatures are comparatively warm during fall harvest, delaying frost and prolonging the growing season. After decades of grape growing, new sub-appellations have been identified within Niagara. These distinctive growing areas are testament to the region's growth, diversity, and unique terroir. Along the eastern shore of Lake Ontario, you'll find the province's fourth viticultural area, Prince Edward County. The region is planted with more than 500,000 vines. The county's climate is similar to Niagara, but with much colder winter temperatures, requiring extraordinary efforts to protect the vines.
We use very aggressive winter protection methods these days. We started with a 12-inch hill. We're up to routinely putting hills up that are 24 inches. It's not so bad putting the hills up, but come spring, when you want to carve those hills back down, it has proven to be a challenge in the past.
Just below the topsoil is a deep layer of calcium-based limestone, ideal for the production of vinifera grapes.
I think that most of us came here because of the soil, or the lack of soil, if we may say. There's very shallow topsoil and a lot of limestone, and that makes the vines grow deeper and really creates a nice complexity in the wine.
The wines from Prince Edward County are still being made from fairly young grapevines, which means that you're looking at, for the most part, slightly lighter bodied, more delicately flavored wines.
We have 50 acres of vineyards planted, primarily in Pinot Noir, but we have Chardonnay, Gamay, Pinot Gris, a little Riesling, a little Cab Franc.
Most people are trying to express their vineyards in their wines. They're trying to find out what kind of wines these want to be, but you're definitely going to find them fairly accessible, fairly easy drinking wines.